Hi, if you're just joining, come on in. We're just getting live on YouTube. Well, hello. Welcome, everybody. Hi, if you're just joining, come on in. We're just getting live on YouTube. All right, now I'm back and we're ready to go. Hi, everyone who's here. Hello, Melissa, Anna. Say hi as you come in. I'm going to be looking at my notes, which are down here. I'm still looking at you, listening to your book on audio, and just thank you. Well, Britt, thank you for listening. It's very exciting. Hey, Latanya, how you doing? All right. I think it's time. It's 1:01. Hey, Barbara. How are you, Barb? Hey, Danny. Oh my God, so many familiar faces. I love seeing all you guys on this freezing day. Hold on, let me light my friggin' candle. Not like it's going to give me any heat. It's probably not, but it'll look pretty. Hi, Nicole. Hey, Deborah. Well, hey, Karina. I'm so happy you guys are here. I'm going to officially welcome you. Make sure. Oh, hold on. There we go. Yeah, that's nice. Okay. So here's our official welcome. 3 ways to strengthen your emotional safety and security. That is what we're talking about today. Because a lot of you, I was asking what you want me to talk about, what you want to learn, because we're in Real Love Revolution season. So I've been doing a bunch of free training. And this is a topic that you want to know about. So therefore, it is a topic that I'm super psyched to teach. And as you know, being in Real Love Revolution season means that at the end of this month starts the course itself, Real Love Revolution 2022. We start on January 26th. I'm super excited. That's actually next week. So if you guys are thinking about doing it, go to terricole.com/RLR. Love to have, I would actually love to have you. It's going to be great. All right, moving into, thank you so much. Those of you who are still joining, because I started a teeny bit early, I want you to just say hello in the sidebar. So look at the bottom of your screen, there's a chat. That is where we're all talking. So I can see what you guys are saying, because you know I love a participation moment. Hey, Rachel. Hey, Trace. If you have questions, please drop them in the chat, which is why I want you to know where the chat is, and make sure that the chat is going to everyone, not just panelists. So I want you to look at the drop-down menu, and it should say everyone or something like that, because some of you are doing it to just panelists, which means I'm the only one who sees it. So do me a favor, check that right now. See the drop-down menu? You want to click on the word everyone. At least that's what it says on mine. All right, we're clear? We got it? Okay, now you guys got, now everyone can see what you're saying. Hello, Maria from the Netherlands. Hello, good morning, Sonia. Hi, everybody. Serbia's in the house, right on, one of my faves. All right, people got it now. New Zealand's in the house. Wow, so many people, it's so exciting. All right, so if you have questions, that's what I was saying. You want to put a couple of question marks in front of them so that Team TC can grab them, and I will be taking questions in the end. I'll be taking questions about this, and I'll be taking questions throughout as well, if they make sense, or if I think they'll add to a deeper understanding of what it is that we're doing. So questions about the content and questions about the course will all happen at the end of this workshop. All right, make sure you got your chat set to the right thing. I think you do. Okay, so this is, I want to start with some participation. So I want to make sure that you guys know how to use the little sidebar, because there's going to be quite a bit of this. Just answer me this. At this moment in time, could your mental health use a boost? If it could, just write the word yes in the chat. Somebody guesses. Someone wrote always. That's how I feel. I feel always my mental health could use a boost. Yes, 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 yes. Yeah, you guys, we've been through it. You know, we have been through it. So this is a perfect time for us to focus on up-leveling our mental health, because COVID, Amy just said COVID is rough. This whole pandemic has been rough, and our sense of safety and security has been, there's been an impact on that. So really, we're looking at this this topic from sort of two places today. From a psychological point of view, emotional security and safety within relationships is really super important. So I'm going to talk about the things that annihilate emotional security, and then some ideas of things that you can do to up your emotional security, because it's something that a lot of times we feel like we can't do anything about it, but that's actually not true. There are steps that you can take to up level that some. And isn't that about up leveling your mental wellness? It is, because we want to be secure and feel at ease in ourselves. And if you are emotionally insecure, if you don't feel safe in your relationships, then it's really hard to feel comfortable in yourself, you know? Okay, so moving into, let's just say you just came here. You don't even know how you got here. My name is Terri Coleman. I'm a licensed psychotherapist, a relationship expert, the author of that book right there, Boundary Boss. And I'm also the founder of Boundary Bootcamp and Real Love Revolution, my signature courses. So today I'm going to give you some tools we're going to talk about. I'm going to ask you to share with me your experience of this, and I will give you some ideas of things that you can actually do to make it better. And as I said, at the end of the workshop, I'm going to share an opportunity for you to continue on this path with me. If you're interested, I'll give you all the deets on how you can join me with people from around the world to up-level your mental health and wellness, your communication, your boundaries, your self-worth, your self-esteem, your empowerment. All of that stuff is what we focus on in Real Love Revolution. So, all right. So we have a comment from the chat. COVID and separation has resulted in major challenges mentally and emotionally. Yes. And it's not just you, right? It's not just you having that experience, perhaps the separation part, but I have to say, we are so fatigued psychologically from what we've experienced and what we continue to experience. So it's not just you feeling that way. And what we're talking about today, and if you ended up joining the course, all of these things are ways to strengthen your emotional well-being, even during a pandemic, even during a separation, because those are the times when we need it the most. We need to be able to count on ourselves the most. We need to be able to feel the strength within us and then be able to go forward with that. And part of the problem is if we're getting strength and if we're super approval oriented and codependent and all those things, we end up looking for the approval outside of us. And then if the relationship ends, then that ends too. So much of this is about your relationship to yourself, which, as you know, I talk about quite a bit. The whole idea of emotional security starts with you. So before we get into it, why don't we do a little grounding? So if you have something that smells good, I'm going to ask you to grab it. It'll just be short, but I feel like it'll get us in the right frame of mind. So if you have anything, this is, wow, my favorite still, sage. I love it so much. That's what it looks like. It's delicious. And I like the stress relief one. All right, so take a deep breath and exhale. And I'm just going to ask you to gently close your eyes. Drop your attention inward. So let's just dial into physical body and do a quick body scan of how are you feeling? What are you feeling? So as you're scanning your body, if there's any part of your neck, if it's stiff, or any fatigue, any pain you have anywhere, any heavy thoughts that are getting in the way of you being present, just stop wherever you see that. Take a deep breath into that space and exhale, just visualizing that fatigue, that thought, whatever it is, leaving your body with your exhalation. And as you dial into your body, bringing you into this present moment, you can easily do that by just asking yourself simple questions, right? Is what I'm sitting on hard or soft? There's no judgment. There's no narrative. We're literally just answering questions. Is the air in the room that I'm in warm or cool? Can you recall what the room looks like without opening your eyes? You know where things are, bring that to mind. When you take a deep breath, is there any aroma in the air? Maybe someone was cooking food. Maybe you have a flower. For me, now I have this essential oil that I just smelled up my nose. So just identify what you smell without giving it a value. We're literally just identifying. And now dial into what you can hear. What can you hear close to you? You might be able to hear a refrigerator, a fan, something else. You might be able to hear people outside, kids, cars, trucks, something else. Just identify what you hear. If you're at my house, you might hear my geese making noise because, wow, they don't care if I'm live. And now let's just breathe. Now that we are securely in our bodies, just breathe. You can breathe in through your nose and out through your nose. With the intention to allow yourself to be here now. Let's take one last deep breath and exhale. And now gently open your eyes. All right, welcome back. Did you need that? Does anybody feel a little bit more calm? Because I definitely do. Okay. Yeah, sense of safety with everything unstable, always changing is so compromised. Yes, Sheila, so many of us, it's not just you. Absolutely needed that much more than I realized. Me too. And it's so easy to do it, right? I've got tons of stuff online. And actually in the course, just saying, we have a brand new guided, psychologically, like a therapeutically informed guided meditation that goes along with every module. Yes, we do. Just breathing, just allow yourself to be here now, because when we're talking about psychological stuff and becoming stronger and having insight, it really requires us to be willing to look at what is going on in our lives, what is going on within ourselves, what is going on in our relationships. So let's just start with some ideas of signs of emotional insecurity in relationships, like behaviors. You might have lack of trust. So do you feel like you go into relationships with a lack of trust, sort of waiting for the other shoe to drop, feeling like the person is not going to stay true, being very tempted to look at their phone? And you could just tell me if it's a yes, just there you go. Katita said, yep. Okay. So whatever that is for you. So it's sort of distrust and a need to constantly be checking for faithfulness. This, and really, when you think about it, what is it? It's suspicion, right? There's this sense of suspicion. And a lot of times it might be because you've had a bad experience in the past, but we really need to be dialed into why we're feeling so distrustful. Because if it's something from the past that we need to clean up, then we need to do that, because we don't want to, what is that saying? There's a meme online that's like, basically, if you don't heal the original wounds, you'll bleed all over the person who didn't cut you. I don't know. I butchered it, but you understand what I'm saying, is that it's like sins of the previous person being acted out on your current person. Another indication of this, and what creates it, is hiding our true feelings, not talking, about how we really feel. So that can be really difficult because then there's this sense of being alone, right? If we're not talking about how we feel, or we're sort of whitewashing things or making things okay that maybe are not okay, then what ends up happening is that we end up feeling alone, resentful, feeling like nobody knows us, And I didn't realize that I felt that way in my 20s. Nobody knew me because I didn't know how to share my real feelings because I was such a people pleaser and I was so freaking codependent. And it was just impossible to do that, And I felt like I waffled between being overly trusting. That's what Mary just said. I always start trusting. Rose tinted glasses only to be crashed many times. I would either be overly trusting with someone who really I had no good reason to trust, or I would be the untrustworthy one. Like there was all these trust issues, and that definitely is connected to lack of emotional safety, not feeling safe. Another indication or sign, and let me know if you feel this way, is a constant need for reassurance. Do you feel that way? That it's just not enough. And listen, we could get into attachment styles. I don't have enough time today, so I'm not going to, although I do get into them in the Real Love Revolution course itself. But, because if someone is avoidantly or insecurely attached, then you're also going to need constant reassurance and then feel overwhelmed and smothered by the constant reassurance. It's like this whole combination. And approval seeking, right? It's like looking to them to make sure that you're okay. And I'm not talking about, listen, some of that in a relationship is normal. If we look at the Gottman Institute and what they talk about, some of this is normal, right? Where, of course, we are checking in. The Gottmans talk about it, the Love Lab, the Gottman Institute created the Love Lab. It's been around for like 45 years. They talk about it as bidding for your partner's attention. And it doesn't mean, it's not even anything important, but the couples that made it, the couples who were more masters of love rather than disasters, that 7 out of 10 times when their partner bid for their attention, they gave it to them in a positive way. The couples that didn't make it, 7 out of 10 times, when one bid for the attention of the other, they either ignored them or got hostile and negative, like, why are you making me stop what I'm doing to look at the bird? I don't want to look at the bird, like that. So I'm not saying that it's pathological to be checking in with our person, right? Because that is pretty normal. But you know what I'm talking about with needing a whole lot of reassurance. Exactly. Britt said that never enough feeling. Yes, that never enough feeling is there. And that can drive your behavior to make the insecurity even worse, Another indication, and tell me if this is you, is walking on eggshells. Is just being so hyper vigilant about what is going on, a shift in someone's mood, a shift in someone's facial expression, right? I mean, I could literally, if someone's face changed slightly, I would be like, oh, they don't like what I'm saying. They don't like what I need to pivot right now because they don't like it. Not because I needed to pivot, but because I didn't want that disapproval. Yes. Yeah. It's, Britt said, this is to survive. Yes, that's correct. Latanya said, I hate it. It's so exhausting. It is. It also, though, creates so much resentment, right? Because there comes a point, even if you are an over-functioning, high-functioning codependent, perfectionist, all the things that many of the people in my crew are, there just comes a point where you're just like, wow, I just have no more bandwidth. Like I just don't. So this is something for us to be really aware of in our lives. Where do we do it? Because here's the thing. I didn't just do it in my romantic relationships. I did it with bosses. I did it with friends. Like I feel like until I created emotional security and more mental health and understood boundaries and effective communication and all of those things that I did on my own personal therapeutic journey, it's almost like you're just like this little boat, or how I felt was like this little boat. And like my life was like this huge storm, like what was happening, what other people wanted, what other people thought. And I just felt like I was like, oh my God, am I going to make it? Like I couldn't breathe. I couldn't, I felt like I couldn't get it right. But how I really felt was so incredibly unempowered. I wasn't being proactive. I just felt like I was endlessly reacting in my life to the relationships. And it's just too much. I mean, for me, I just couldn't do it anymore. There was just that point where you hit the pivot, and then I just really buckled down in therapy, started going twice a week, was like, okay. And then eventually became a therapist, and then started teaching it so that you guys don't have to go through all the years that I went through of this unsatisfying bullshit, because there is a way to not. There is a structured way that makes sense, which I pray. I created this course for you because it is the course that I wish to God somebody had given me when I really needed it. But there wasn't anything then, not like this, not comprehensive, not handling all the things, the communication, the boundaries, the past hurts, the original injuries, all of that stuff. There just wasn't. It wasn't popular then. I was also, decades ago. So anyway, I created it for you so you wouldn't have to go through that. The next thing that is an indication of having a lack of this emotional security is self-sabotaging behavior. And we know what it looks like, right? There's so many ways of sabotaging your own happiness. And so much of it has to do with being out of touch with our own emotions, not understanding, just being driven. Like there's like this reactionary thing, and we're just driven to get out of the relationship. We're driven to no longer have to function at that level of bandwidth sucking that we've been doing, even though it was voluntary, right? Meaning nobody was making me do what I was doing, but I didn't know a better way. So since I didn't know a better way, I thought the only way was to find a way to get out of the relationship, right? And that's what I would do. And if I didn't have the courage to get out of the relationship, I would find a way to make the other person ditch me, so I wouldn't have to feel like the villain in the whole thing. I mean, I know that is like, so that whole thing is so is so twisted. So I'm going to take some of your questions now. Yes, Anna said, I didn't know how to work in a relationship. Same. And I also didn't realize then how much work I needed to do on my relationship with myself, right? Like on my relationship with myself. I didn't even know having a relationship with myself was a friggin' thing in my 20s, of course. And I think most of us are like, what? I mean, I didn't even know like I had a choice, that I could make it better, and that how I was relating to myself had everything to do with who I was attracting into my life and what experiences I was having. Desiree said, incredible how being driven was such a positive trait growing up, yet now as an adult, we need to get into the driver's seat. Oh, yes, sure. Right. Because it's all accomplishment, right? It's all about, perfectionism. It's all about people, people pleasing. If your parents are happy, your adult impactors, if you're teachers, if at least for me, accomplishment was a way of just avoiding everything else I was trying to avoid. Yeah. Sammy said, I feel like I did this without even thinking. Of course you did. This is just us on autopilot and reaction mode. Right. Well, so much of this aha has to do with the self. I also feel it is so relational, said Talia, because it seems harder with certain people to feel safe, to express yourself, to be true to yourself, without a doubt. But what I'm interested in And what I teach you in the course itself is about, why is this your attraction style? What's happening around, why am I attracting this type of difficult personality? And really doing a deep dive into your downloaded love and relationship blueprint, which is what it's all about. We understand what was modeled behavior. Who does this person who is so difficult, let's say, remind me of? And here's the thing, even if we focus on you, right? I focus on you in my courses, I focus on myself. That doesn't mean that the other person isn't doing something shitty, right? The other person could be acting like a total jerk. And these two things can exist simultaneously. But our job is to understand our 50% of that dynamic. Like, why them? Why am I attracted to those people? Because this is how the brain works, right? This is how emotions work. Repetition, compulsion, right? Yeah. So anyway, moving into the things that we want to avoid in relationships. And then I'm going to give you 3 ideas of things that you can do to build it. But what are the things that, if you're in a relationship right now and you're wondering if, like, am I in an emotionally safe relationship? I mean, listen, you may be able to just answer that question straight up, but these are things that you can look for, which is lack of respect for boundaries and lack of respect for consent. That, without a doubt, creates an unsafe environment, because you don't feel like you can communicate your limits to the other person. You feel like you're being controlled, or they feel like they're being controlled. Because really, when you think about it, what are boundaries good for? Well, they protect us, our integrity, but they also protect the relationship. Because when we don't have the ability to create them, we end up really resentful. And then that resentment ends up damaging the relationship itself. And all the types of boundaries that they can be, right? Because even in a relationship where people are, intimate, like a marriage or a partnership, there can be, I've heard from a lot of people out there, sexual boundary violations where someone is pressuring you to be sexual, even though you don't want to be. And I think that I was interviewed yesterday on something, and the woman was saying, wow, I think that a lot of people don't know that you don't have to be, or that you don't owe your partner that necessarily. Like, it's something to talk about. I mean, listen, if you never, ever, ever want to have sex, okay, well, that's something to talk about. But like, just having someone go over that line sexually or try to wear down your no, that is a boundary violation. And all of those things create such an unsafe feeling in a relationship. Another thing is, think about your relationship or past relationships. Is the person a bad listener? Because that also creates a lack of safety, where you feel like you're not important. They don't remember what you're talking about. Have any of you experienced this? Been in a relationship with a bad listener? Just let me know in the comments. Because here's the thing. Yes, lots of people for 20 years. Oh my God, I'm sorry. Yes, currently, and it's terrible. It is terrible. Terrible. Yes. I see you guys. I could say something 20 times and he forgets, says Carrie. Yeah, I got to say, there's lots of stuff, though, that as you start changing your relationship to yourself, those things start changing too. Oh yeah. And then Pia says, yeah, and he only talks about himself. Well, that doesn't work. Talk about creating. Oh my God. And Mary says, always interrupts when I'm speaking. No. Wow, I hate that so much. Yeah. That makes me insane. But don't worry, I've got all the tricks of how do you stop someone from interrupting you. But think about what active and open listening does for us. It creates a sense of safety, that even if we have something that we're a little bit afraid to talk about, that the other person is not going to punish us for it, or become extremely defensive, or act like overly wounded that we like had the nerve to not like something, And that creates safety. And a lack of that creates a lack of safety. Another thing to think about is something else that is an indication, or something that you can think about right now in your relationship, is if the person is sketchy, someone who there's a lack of transparency. They don't want you to see their phone. They don't want you to like know all their friends. They don't invite you to things. I once dated some guy who was such an idiot, but anyway, back in the day, many decades ago, people who I think I dated him for a year. I never saw his apartment. I don't know. That should have been a red flag. And then someone I knew who I represented, I was a talent agent at the time, came in and told me, oh my God, I saw so-and-so, I guess we'll just call him Bob for now, at a party, and he was making out with someone else in the party. That was not too embarrassing. A client I represented was like, I don't know how to tell you this, but I just have to. I was dying. Yeah, that was pretty much the end of that relationship. But yeah. May I ask the difference between fawning and forgiveness? Oh man, we don't have enough time, Maria, on this. Fawning is the act of trying to control someone else by not having them be mad at you. It's like we talk about it like the fight, flight, freeze response. Some people add fawning to that response, where you're just placating the person so that they don't get mad. It's your way of trying to control a situation. Oh, forgiveness. No, I've done so much on forgiveness. Just look on my YouTube channel, because they're not the same thing at all, fawning and forgiveness. Because forgiveness is really about you letting yourself out of resentment prison, is how I look at it. Anyway, all right, that was my brief version, Maria. I hope it was helpful. Anyway, so have you experienced someone who is sketchy? Yeah. My husband changes the events of an argument to make himself look better and me look and feel crazy. He also has a lot of emotional insecurities. Right. But Nicole, that's like a form of gaslighting. When someone is like, I mean, listen, we all remember things differently. That's possible. But, if someone literally changes the events, like tells you that did not happen, but it did. Now that is more serious. That is more an emotional manipulation tactic, So yeah, watch out for sketchiness, because that is bad. Someone said, Danny said, I saw him with another woman and he said it didn't happen. Yeah. Okay. That's reason enough to no, thanks. That is terrible. It's crazy making is what it is. And that's what they're hoping for. And again, of course, anything like that creates total lack of emotional security and within a relationship. And another thing that in your relationship, think about it. If you're in one, or if you've been in one, do you assume the worst of your partner, or did they assume the worst of you? Because again, this creates a lack of emotional security. Yes. Okay. So assume the worst. I really work on this one. Gail said, what about when my partner says she can't remember what she said after saying hurtful things in an argument? Then you write it down and you say, this is exactly what you said. You say, you know what, babe, if you're going to keep forgetting, then when we argue, I'm going to record it, because you can't remember and I can't forget. And it's damaging our relationship. How's that? All right, there you go. Carmen said, I was bewildered all the time. It took me 5 years and ADHD medication to finally make sense of his lies, but it was always with the house and controlling me. Oh, it's so scary. It's so scary to be in an emotionally really unsafe relationship, because listen, there's also nuances and gradation of safety when you get on down to it, right? Where not everything is a 10 on the abuse scale, but there are things that we can do to make it better. And the last thing that I want to say about what makes it worse in relationships is lack of accountability and follow through, where it's like, I'm not saying anyone has to be perfect, right? Nobody is perfect. But certainly, personally, I expect people to keep their word. And I definitely expect my husband to keep his word. If he says he's going to do something, I expect he's going to do it. And if I tell him I'm going to do something, I do it. And if I can't, I tell them, right? Because this is what makes a secure relationship and more internal emotional security, is knowing what you can count on, is knowing that you can count on that person. If someone is sometimes shows up and sometimes doesn't, it leaves us in this up and down insecure place. Claire said, Terri, you've taught me so much from all your free content. Hold on. Free content. Thank you so much for your contribution to each of us and all of our self-love. Well, you're welcome. I'm so glad that it has helped. That's the whole point in doing it. So let's move into what can we actually do? So I'm going to ask you guys a couple of questions. I have a lot of downloaded blueprints. So in the course, we do your love and relationship downloaded blueprint. So we do a whole bunch of like a deep dive into what you learned. Why do you relate to romantic love? And this is whether you are single or partnered, because it doesn't matter, because it's all about you, right? You have your own unique journey and your own unique story, regardless of whether you are partnered right now or not. So part of what I say about Real Love Revolution is that it's for people who know their relationship could be better, but don't know how to do it, for people who need to decide if they should stay or go, or for people who are single seeking to be partnered, right? So it's really basically for everyone, or people who are happily single and want to have a better relationship with themselves, because the course itself is all the psychological things, but it all starts with you and understanding, really giving yourself the time to understand why you are the way you are. And so much of the time, we just don't do it. We will invest ourselves in other people all the time. They need help. They need this. Is it not true? How much of the time are we like literally last on our own list? You can just put your little hand up if it's true. You can say yes, because I know it's true, because I know you. And there has to be a moment in time when we decide that we're going to carve out time for ourselves. So before I get into what we're going to do about emotional security, I'm going to tell you the course itself is 3 months long. It's 10 modules, but then I gave you an extra module. Anyway, so for the next 3 months, we start on the 26th. So that's next week. You're just hanging out with the most supportive group of people, doing the deepest dive of your life, basically. And you will be a different person in the best way when we're done. So, and we've actually done two Real Love Revolutions during basically the pandemic, if you can believe that. And the connection and the community that we created was just so beautiful and so important. And so many of us felt so friggin' isolated because we're not doing our normal things, not seeing our normal friends. Anyway, if it sounds good, go to terricole.com/RLR. Let's move into steps you can take. All right. Oh, wait. Susan said, I did your Real Love Revolution 2017 and it changed my life. I'm recently married and it is the best relationship and most honest one I've ever had. Oh my God, I'm crying. Susan, you're the sweetest. Congratulations to you. I love it so much. All right. So you're just going to answer a couple of questions for me. This is about your emotional safety and security blueprint. Just the first one. Was your childhood home an emotionally safe place? Yes or no? You could just put Y or N. Got a lot of no's. I don't know. I saw one yes pass me by. And then Lisa has no with 8,000 big capital zeros. Oh, Stephanie said one house yes, one house no. That's interesting. Hell no, says Latanya. Yep. Maui said no. So you guys, here's the thing. We're all on the same page that we didn't learn emotional safety and security while we were growing up. So we need to learn it ourselves in our grown-up life. So the question is, what did you see growing up? So what creates lack of emotional security in children is if you were, let's say, were you shamed for your feelings? If you were upset, were you shamed for it? Or was somebody, like at my house, it was all about like, where's my happy girl? You know what I mean? Turn that frown around like that. Yes, told to buck up. Exactly. Yes, all the time, Anna said. Yes, that is an emotionally unsafe place. Because yes, not shame denied. That's actually, Emily, that's a good distinction to make. Yep. Drug users, alcohol abuse enablers. Yep. Weren't allowed to be sad or mad. Same, Carmen, same. Yep. Some people said there were violence, they were ignored, parentified. So dad was a major narcissist. Yes. And for those of you who had an emotionally safe place, write down that if you were not sort of controlled or manipulated with your own emotions, it's just, in all the years I've been a psychotherapist, I just haven't seen very many people who learned how to create emotional safety, because almost all of us, if we go into that blueprint, you see exactly why. I'll give you something to cry about, says Lisa. Oh my God. Who felt that? Anyone got that at home? Or is that just an American thing? Yes. Is it a European thing or a Canada thing? Tell me. Because, UK too, says Valerie. Okay. UK. Okay. Arab too. All right. Wow. Canada, Israel. Oh my God. This is so crazy. So this happens all over the world. What all the parents just got together to be like, this is France, Ireland, everywhere. Oh my God, Scandinavia, stop it. just the same parents with the same lame bullshit all over the world. That's all we're saying. Michigan, Romania. Oh my God. Crying was unacceptable. Yep. That's unbelievable. Crying was manipulative, says Megan. Wow. And that is so brutal. That is so brutal, because then you never feel free to express your tears. You never feel, there's never like a soft place to land emotionally. And it makes us deny our own emotions. Yes. And then Carmen said, constantly told I have way too many feelings. And that's another thing, because so many of you are empaths. So many of you are highly sensitive people. I mean, how many identify as that? Just say yes if you do identify as either one of those, because I could raise my hand for both. Definitely both, without a doubt, both. Yes. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yes. And this is something that is real and is different. This is different than not being that. Do you understand that there is something specific about us, and it's amazing, right? This can be your superpower. And I talk quite a bit about this in the course itself, about how do we negotiate boundaries as empaths, as highly sensitive folks? How do we make changes in our lives so that we feel more cared for, rather than letting other people tell us we're too sensitive, right? So anyway, yes, are empaths and highly sensitive people by nature, or is it a defense mechanism from the treatment received by caregivers? Ooh, that is a really good, Katita, that is a really good question. I feel like it's nature and nurture of becoming an empath and a highly sensitive person. I honestly believe personally, I was born this way because I've always hated bright lights, like from the littlest child on. I didn't like loud noises, like those things were always in place. But I do believe that we hone those skills of being dialed into other people's moods and thoughts and feelings as a safety measure in the homes that we were raised in. That makes sense? Because if you could read the room, if you knew that something was going on over there, you could avoid it. If you knew that someone was in a bad mood, you could do something to brighten their mood. You could clean the kitchen. You could, right? So I think that it's both things. All right. So now we know you have ideas of what your downloaded safety and security, emotional safety and security blueprint is. The next step is to cultivate emotional security inside yourself by really knowing how you feel. And now that sounds like, wow, that's easy. It's not. I'm not saying it's easy, especially if you haven't, but there are ways that you can get dialed into your feelings. And if you talk in broad strokes about your feelings, like I'm just irritated, I'm just annoyed, I'll ask you to become more specific. I used to have someone, a friend, who would be seething, like so angry. And she would misname it as being annoyed. And I would always point out and say, you don't seem annoyed, you seem enraged, and they're different things. So knowing yourself, but then honoring your feelings, because this is how we create emotional safety within ourselves. So going back to the empath and the highly sensitive folks, another thing that we can do is prioritize the way we feel. So if someone invites you to go to a place that's going to be super crowded and super loud, and you know you're going to be suffering from that for 3 days afterwards, and you don't want to go, that instead of going, you actually say, hey, I don't enjoy that type of event, but I would love to have lunch with you next week, or something like that. Like, find ways to actually honor the way you feel. Because another thing that makes us feel unsafe within ourselves is when we self-abandon, right? So we know, most of us, as I like to say, not that I like to, but it's true, we're raised and praised for being self-abandoning codependents, right? This is what people wanted. This made us good people. We would give anyone the shirt off our back. We would not make don't make a fuss. Don't be a troublemaker. Be helpful. We want to make sure everyone thinks you're nice. Be a good girl. So much of that learned behavior is about not really being last on our own list. And this impacts everything in our lives, especially our love lives and the relationships that we have. Because if you're last on your own list, if you treat yourself like crap, if you don't rest when you're exhausted, if you put everyone else's needs above your own, that is how you're relating to yourself. And that is what you're putting out there in the world. And you will inevitably, right? Because how do we attract? It's like your energy goes out and it has little hooks on it, right? Like this, hooking, and brings in like things. So you will inevitably find people who agree with your low self-assessment. So even if you're in a relationship like this right now, you can still make these changes. You can still change the dynamic slowly but surely. And the way that I laid it out, the overall, the real thing in the course itself, is that the first 4 weeks, we are really diving into the past, because we have to. What happened in the family of origin? What happened growing up? What about your past relationships? All of those things are super important. Your downloaded love blueprint. We need to look at those things, because that will help you understand why you are the way you are. And then we can start making shifts and changes and learn new language and, effective communication and boundaries and all of those things. And then we move into real self-love and self-celebration, because when you have that vibe in the world, that changes everything. All right, moving into, so we're going to make choices, understand our own emotions, and make choices that honor those feelings. And that is super duper important. And get radically curious about the way you feel instead of being judgmental. Get radically curious, right? What would Deepak Chopra say? Become the observer without judgment. That is like the highest that you could be, because it is where we learn the very most about ourselves, which is so incredibly important. And then the last step that I want to give you, and then I'm going to go into answering your questions. The last step I want to give you is right now, because here's the thing about emotional security, you guys. It's not only in your love relationships. You can feel safe and emotionally safe, let's say, and secure in your love relationship, but feel very unsafe in your family of origin, right? it's not just your love relationships, it's everywhere. I want you to, right now, in your mind, you're going to take a relationship safety inventory. So if you have a primary relationship, just think about it. Do you feel emotionally safe? Do you feel free to be yourself, to be vulnerable? Is it safe to be vulnerable, or is that something that might be used against you? So the question is, are you in a relationship right now? If you are, is it emotionally safe? Tell me. Tell me. Down the sidebar. Yes. No. Sometimes no. Yes. Okay. Yep. A lot of people are no's. A lot of people are like half the time or sometimes or yes-ish. Got it. So we know, right? Sometimes yes, no, 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 no. Uh-oh. You're funny, Sandler. Yes. Okay. So you guys, I see you 50-50. So you're in the category of you're in a relationship. You know, it could be better. You just don't know how to get it there. Right. You just don't know how to make the leap to the next thing, because here's the thing. We got to get specific about what is the problem. Where is the communication breaking down? Where are we not talking true or telling the truth about how we feel about things? So this is all a deep dive that we actually do in the course, but it's something to really think about. Like, what does this relationship remind you of? If you're in an emotionally unsafe relationship, really think about, how is it familiar to you? And you can also, it doesn't have to be a romantic relationship. Are there other relationships in your life that feel emotionally unsafe? If so, you can just write it down. If it's a friendship, put F. If it's siblings, put S. If it's work, put W. Because I found a lot in my life that I would have friendships that were emotionally unsafe. And you're like, this shit is voluntary. Like, why am I staying in this friendship with someone who I feel like I need to placate? I don't want them to be mad. So a lot of you, yes, have parents, have work people, have siblings, family is completely unsafe. Right. So I totally get it. Work. Yep. Friends, mother, child. That's the whole thing. It could be anywhere. So it's important for you to know sort of where you want to work. Right. All right. So I'm going to start with the questions that they grabbed from the chat. And if you have more questions, we're probably going to go for another 10 or 15. So get your questions in here. Okay. So Katita said, haven't had a relationship since I've been working on setting and enforcing boundaries, and I'm scared to enter into one. What should I look out for as signs of backsliding or losing myself? How do I know I can trust myself? Well, I would say, listen, take your time, right? Don't do anything as a reaction. Think. You know in your gut if a line has been crossed. And if it has, then you slowly figure out how to create a proactive boundary success plan. You figure out a little script of what you're going to say, and you commit to yourself right up front that no matter what relationship you end up going into, that you will tell the truth about the way you feel. And that even though you might be scared, you're going to do it, because it's better to know early than it is to not, right? Till 2 years in, and then we find out. Like, you don't need any more of that. So I think you got it. You got it. Katita, it's new, but I think you can do it. Amy said, my boyfriend gets from calm and usefully helpful to loud, and I'm not sure how to avoid this with being true and calm. Well, here's the thing. If your boyfriend yells, if that is a deal breaker for you, right? We need to go through the process of understanding what doesn't work for you. If him yelling doesn't work for you, you must say, hey, as soon as you raise your voice, I want to leave the relation. I want to leave the conversation, not the relationship necessarily. So what I'm saying is that I'm going to ask you to not raise your voice to the best of your ability. And maybe you've already had that conversation, Amy, but I think that you really got to think about what do you want to deal with? Because you have the right to just say, hey, you're now raising your voice. And I already told you that if you started screaming, I was going to leave the conversation, which I'm doing right now, but I'm happy to pick it up again later, as long as we can be calm. That is allowed to be a prerequisite for you. So that's my 2 cents on that. Lauren said, can you speak to when people's actions don't align with their words? I feel like my ex heard me. I really felt seen, but their actions did not align in my perspective, how their behaviors would have been. Well, here's the thing. Them seeing you and not doing the thing that you needed them to do, that seems like even more of a choice. And I think that it's very important that we point out when someone's words don't align with their actions, instead of letting it go, because so much of the time we were taught to let it go, right? And my feeling is, let's not let it go. Let's say, hey, you told me that you would have that done by Friday. It's Friday. So are you going to have it done and keep your word, right? We just have to be able to say it, because this is how we spare ourselves years of bullshit, which we don't want to do. Can you tell me if I need to be on the course calls live, because I'm going to be traveling for business the first 2 weeks of the course? No, you do not, because we have people all over the world for the course, right? All the people you see where everyone was from in here, that's exactly what the course is like. So lots of people in Australia, it's all about the recording. So everything is recorded, everything is transcribed. So if you can't make the first 2 lives or any of them, that's totally fine. You can do it at your own pace. And my feeling is you won't miss a thing. We've gotten really great feedback from people saying, I feel like I'm there. It was amazing. So I don't think that it will hinder your growth experience at all. All right. Can you say something about how to recover after emotional abuse besides go to therapy? Katerina, I would say be really, really gentle with yourself. Be really, really kind to yourself. Be really, really mindful. Do a deep dive into that past experience, because you do not want to repeat that. Like why it happened. And again, no blaming, no victim blaming, no shaming. That's not what I'm saying. But we do have to understand, was it familiar to you? From a psychological point of view, it's very important to understand how you got there, because that's the only way to not get there again. Make sense? I hope that was helpful. April said, is there any prerequisites for the course? No, there's not. We have people who are alumni that come back and do it again because they love it. We have people who have done, boundary boot camp, and now they're doing Real Love Revolution for the first time. There's no prerequisite. The only prerequisite is your desire to grow, to evolve, to create a life and the relationships that you really love. That is a prerequisite, because I'll always be honest with you. I'm taking your questions. We have a live Q&A once a week. I'm taking your questions, and you can count on me to be honest with you and gentle, right? I will always be kind, but you got to be ready to do the work. But you also do have lifetime access to the course material. So if you weren't exactly ready right now, you could then, you could come back and do it, just saying, or a lot of people just revisit it after they do it live with us. I hope that answered your question, April. Katya said, in what sense does the energy of empaths pull in narcissists? Well, kind of in every sense. Narcissists just have this GPS. They are like, hey, man, it's all about me. The world revolves around me. Yay. And an empath is like, hey, man, it's all about you. The world revolves around you. Yay. Right? The empath only cares about their feelings. I mean, the empath only cares about the narcissist's feelings, really, because they don't want them to be upset. They don't want them to be mad. And the narcissist only cares about their own feelings. So it's a very compelling combination until it's not, right? Until you just get tired of it as the empath, you eventually just get exhausted. Carmen said, does the course cover self-sabotage and self-abandonment in depth, or is that a different course? I mean, yes, we do, because what we're actually talking about, all of it has to do with stopping self-sabotaging and stopping self-abandonment from learning how to effective communication, right? That helps you stop those two things. Self-love, that helps you stop those two things. Learning how to set boundaries, that helps you stop those two things. So the answer is a resounding yes, Carmen. Okay. Hold on. Dina said, I'm a single mom. Hold on. I'm a single mom and now working from home, plus managing distance learning with my kid. How much time does the course take weekly? All right. I think you can really learn at your own pace, honestly. And we've done this for many years. So like we've heard from participants, 15 to 20 minutes a day, if you can put that aside, or you can do longer sessions on the weekend to do the integration exercise. Because of course, obviously with something like this, there's no one size fits all. All of this, all of the work, all of the exercises that I give you, you make your own, right? Because you have to make it your own, because you're unique and your experience is unique. So I would say you're going to take about a total hour for the exercises, 10 minutes every day to do the therapeutically designed guided meditation that I've created for you. And then about 75 minutes to either be live on the Q&A call or watch it. So that's about the time. Diana, I hope that was helpful. All right. Desiree said, when there has been previously broken trust in a romantic relationship from their side, how do we know if there's recovery possible or if it's just too far gone? I can't trust my gut because it's constantly back and forth. Well, Desiree, part of it is, is the person sorry? Is there a history of this, or was it a one-time thing? Are they willing to do work on themselves to stop it? Did you have a conversation about it? And when you say broken trust, do you mean that they stepped out on you, had an affair, or some other kind of broken trust? Either way, it's all about the willingness of the other party to make amends, right? And to say it won't happen again. And then to not have it happen again. Make sense? I understand what you're saying. When you're reeling from broken trust, it is really hard to do that. All right. So Lexi said, I have this problem since growing up. My parents often couldn't keep their words on taking vacations due to their busy work. So I was constantly getting excited, then disappointed. So now I just automatically expect disappointment and assume that people are not going to do what they say. How do I start trusting people again without feeling disappointed? Well, part of it is you remain someone who keeps their word and hold people to accountable to what they say, rather than being disappointed and being like, oh, just another Tuesday. You know what I mean? Don't have it be okay with you that people don't keep their word, and understand that what happened in your childhood doesn't have to be the thing that's dictating what's happening now, right? Is this course designed for women? Could a couple sign up? Everyone is welcome. And yes, it used to only be for women, but then we had men wanting to join and we just decided it was fine and that couples could do it as well. And that it's everyone is welcome. All right, hold on. Julianne said, do I have to participate in the community aspect of the course? Well, here's the thing with the community aspect. We don't have it on Facebook for a reason, because for security, we have it on our own private server that's super secure. And your level of participation is totally voluntary, right? It's really at your discretion. Although we have, I have very specific rules of engagement in all of my courses so that you won't have lots of people giving you and ask for advice and all of that stuff. We're not doing a whole bunch of projecting in this course. This is a course where maybe for the first time in your life, you would keep your eyes on your own paper and not feel compelled to respond to every other person's thing that ever happened. And you know what I mean? Because so much of the time, whatever we do in life, we're like the codependent, taking care of everyone. Then we feel like we need to do that in the course. So I have all these very loving and lovely rules. So, that you don't have to do that. And here's the thing with the community, you learn with all of these other beautiful souls, and you really get that vibe like, wow, I'm not alone. You learn so much from each other, from the questions that you ask, that someone else's question will give you answers that you didn't even know you needed. Desiree said, TC creates a very, very emotionally safe space for healing in her courses. Thank you, Desiree. I really work to do that. So if you're interested, go to terricole.com/RLR. We start on the 26th. Latanya said, I took the Boundary Boss course and I felt so safe in the community. That's why I'm investigating RLR. Excellent, Latanya. I would love to have you. Okay. And Jane, I see that Jane just joined. Thank you, Jane. I'm happy to see you joining. I'm so excited. It's going to be so much fun, you guys. I hope that you learned something today. What I really do during Real Love Revolution season is I want to whet your appetite for your own evolution. If you like this style, if you like my style, this is what the course is like, except way deeper, right? And I want you to give yourself a gift because you've been given to everyone else. And I know this for a fact. Maybe it's time to just have something for you, right? Maybe it's time to just have something for you. So I would love to lead you through 3 months of amazingness and meeting friends. We're doing something new. Actually, all the modules are brand new this year. I didn't even tell you guys that. I reshot everything. So if you're an alum and you're thinking about coming back, all brand new, all updated. And we're also doing these breakout sessions so that you can learn from each other, so that participants, and they're not mandatory, they're optional, but it's like just another bonus. And there are so many bonuses, listen, there's always a million bonuses because I just can't not, you know what I mean? So there's so many bonuses for this course itself, because all my friends, we're all sitting around like, what am I doing? Bonuses. You get the friendship breakthrough or breakup guide, flip the script on fear, which is interviews with Marie Forleo, Chris Carr, Kate Northrup, Esther Perel, all these powerful teachers. You get self-celebration dance party with Deb Kern, which I love. Free ticket to understand your father wound, which is a brand new workshop coming up in mid-Feb. So it's live. I'm going to be teaching it live. A bonus integration call for anyone who pays in full. We have a money back guarantee. The pay in full price is $997. Then there's a 12 payment plan for $97, right? You can start for as little as $97. So if any of that sounds good, go do it. terricole.com/RLR. You guys, I'm so excited to hang out with you for the next 3 months. You'll be seeing me and this yellow chair and this candle right there for the next 3 months. I cannot wait. So thank you. I appreciate all of you. And so many of you stayed till the end. Thank you. To be continued. I hope I will see you on the inside of Real Love Revolution 2022. You're all so welcome. Like fireside chats, says Lisa. Exactly. Actually,